Hey guys, Sjotyme checking in. Welcome to my homage for Resident Evil Director's Cut, where I pay my respects to the series' roots while providing an informative and fun analysis on the original game of the franchise. Come join me, will you? Let's go! Now, as everyone knows, Resident Evil is celebrating its 20th anniversary. That's right! The very first Resident Evil game was developed and published by well-known video game company Capcom, famously known for their already established Mega Man series on the NES, and was directed by Shinji Mikami. The game was released in Japan under its original name, Biohazard, and was changed to Resident Evil for the North American and European markets after the communications director of Capcom, Chris Kramer, realized that it would be near impossible to trademark Biohazard as it has already been taken. The name Resident Evil was chosen simply because the game takes place in a mansion. Resident Evil came to North America for the PlayStation in March of 1996, the Sega Saturn in August of 1997, and the PC in September of 1997. The world was yet ready to experience the realistic graphics, at least for the time, as the player explored the zombie-infested mansion. This turned on a lot of gamers, including myself, just itching to see what was behind every door! And speaking of every door, there sure was a lot of them. Every time the player wanted to enter a new room, they had to sit through this. Yeah, petty to today's standards, but this inadvertently became one of the series' staples, seen throughout future installments. People instantly fell in love with the pre-rendered backgrounds, providing realistic environments, while the characters, enemies, and interactive objects remained polygonal. This was considered a new concept at the time, with other popular games, such as Final Fantasy VII, adopting the same graphical style. Gameplay was largely made up of exploration, puzzle solving, fending off enemy monsters, and inventory management. Now the controls, on the other hand, were controversial. In order for the player to move forward, up on the control panel must be held. In order to move backward, just the opposite, the player must hold down. To turn left and right, the player must hold left and right respectively. While moving forward or backward, the player can turn while in motion, and while moving forward can even sprint by holding down the run button. This is what is known as tank controls, and you either loved it or you hated it. I personally didn't mind tank controls as I've gotten used to them over the years, and I actually think they provide the perfect feel for what they were going for. Alas, I can't understand why people hate the controls as they are unconventional and unintuitive. Additionally, with the camera angles constantly changing depending on where the character is relative to his or her environment, the controls make it easy to accidentally run into zombies with no proper quick evasion tactic. However, knowing that your character will continue to move forward simply by holding the up button, even when the camera angle changes, make these controls work, regardless of how confusing they may be at first. A year and a half after Resident Evil's initial release, out came the Director's Cut version, an update to the original to ease the patience of fans awaiting its delayed official sequel, Resident Evil 2. The most notable difference in the Director's Cut version was the addition of an arranged mode, which ultimately alternated the location of all the key items of the game and enemy locations to throw off veterans of the original. Both main characters received new costumes, specific environments were seen from new camera angles, and an auto-aim ability was added to automatically target the enemy within range instead of having to hope that your gun is aligned on the proper path to the enemy. To touch on surely one of the biggest upsets in Resident Evil history, the updated Director's Cut version was advertised to include the uncensored Japanese intro, but was not in the final release due to a localization error, according to Capcom. This obviously pissed off a lot of fans, so in order for Capcom to cover their asses, they provided the uncensored intro on their website for free viewing. As you can see, it makes a huge difference in the feeling of horror. as the censored version feels very lacking since it's like watching a B horror film without any of the bloodshed. Probably the most obvious difference between the censored American intro and the Japanese uncensored one is that America got black and white, while Japan got full color. Oh, Japan! Why do you always get the better deal in the land of video games? If you are curious to see the full uncensored intro, check out my bonus video in the 20th anniversary playlist, the one featuring Shondo. All in all, fans had mixed feelings about the director's cut version, mainly due to the fact that if you already owned the original, it wasn't considered worth it to pay the full price tag. However, if you were new to the series, then you got an awesome deal as the game contained new content and the demo disc for Resident Evil 2. I remember playing the original version at a friend's house, and I loved it so much that I needed to get my own copy. And as you can see, I picked up the director's cut. Capcom did release a DualShock version that supports the analog sticks, which is fine and all, but the music of the game was changed to the dismay of the fanbase. I personally prefer the original soundtrack, but I won't go as far as saying that the new music ruins the experience, and I know a lot of fans will disagree with me on that, but to each his or her own, right? This will be a multi-part series, and to get started, I will dive deep into the world of Resident Evil to explore its rich story and memorable characters, infamously known for their embarrassingly bad voice acting. But that's a whole nother story. I am extremely excited to present to you my appreciation for the Resident Evil series, and without further ado, let's uncover the early plots of the game and find out how the characters got themselves trapped in the mansion in the first place. The story of Resident Evil Director's Cut is a convoluted one, but is best described through its individual characters. However, the overlining plot to the game is that there have been reports of cannibalistic murders occurring in the forest and mountain range located on the outskirts of Raccoon City known as the Arklay Mountain region. Random hikers and visitors would simply disappear and would eventually be found mutilated. This led to the Special Division STARS of the Raccoon City Police Department to investigate these grisly murders. STARS is made up of 2 units, Alpha and Bravo Team. The first unit to be dispatched was the Bravo Team, made up of members Enrico Marini, who served as the team leader, Rebecca Chambers, who served as rear security and medic, Richard Aiken, who also served as rear security but was also the communications expert, Kenneth J. Sullivan, who served as the point man, Forrest Speyer, who served as the marksman, Edward Dewey, who served as the primary pilot, and Kevin Dooley, who was not a STARS member but served as the main pilot, making Edward the co-pilot for the mission. After all communication with Bravo Team went down due to their helicopter crashing for unknown technical reasons, in stepped the Alpha Team, which was made up of members Albert Wesker, who served as STARS Team Captain and Division Leader, Barry Burton, who served as backup man and weapons supplier and expert, Chris Redfield, who served as sharpshooter, Jill Valentine, who served as B&E specialist and rear security, Joseph Frost, who served as maintenance supervisor, and Brad Vickers, who served as Alpha Team's primary pilot. The game starts out with Alpha Team beginning their investigation of the Arklay Mountain region after being dropped off by a helicopter. Soon enough, Joseph Frost gets confronted with the source of the bizarre murders and is torn limb from limb by the Cerberus, a nasty zombie-type dog. Brad Vickers, being the coward he is, flew away at the sight of Frost being killed, leaving Alpha Team stranded with no conventional escape. Naturally, Alpha Team tries to save Frost, but it is too late, and they are forced to flee from the demonic Dobermans into the abandoned, isolated mansion.
Jill, run for that house!
Once inside, where they thought it was safe, Alpha Team stumbles upon the dead bodies of Bravo Team members Kenneth J. Sullivan and Forrest Speyer. They quickly find out that seeking refuge in the mansion does not set them far from danger, rather right in the pits of doom. They must uncover the truths of the mansion by solving miraculous and elaborate puzzles as they fend off monsters and other mutilated creatures unseen by humans, including the infamous zombie. It is best to closely examine each character to uncover the full story, as the heart and soul of the franchise is in the cast, let's go ahead and take a look at the main protagonist of the Resident Evil series, Chris Redfield. Chris Redfield is obviously the cream of the crop when it comes to characters in Resident Evil. Not only is he the main male protagonist of the game, but he comes with a phenomenal track record with the US Air Force. Chris is talented overall, and it's easy to tell that he was born to work for some kind of military unit or government agency that handles weaponry and the like. Being well trained with guns and successfully going on missions abroad gained Chris much admiration from his superiors. However, his ego was a little too big for his britches. Chris was discharged from the armed forces after not being able to see eye to eye with his superiors and ended up drifting across the US with no known direction. Chris later joined the Raccoon City Police Department Division, STARS, as a member of Alpha Team, along with weapons expert Barry Burton, whom happens to be an old comrade from his Air Force days that invited Chris to try out for the team. This obviously led to the meetings between Chris and his fellow Alpha and Bravo STARS members, most important story-wise being Jill Valentine, Rebecca Chambers, and Albert Wesker. Chris has a cool, calm, and collected attitude. I personally would hang out with the dude. You know, I could totally see us going to the shooting range and, popping a few caps next to his ass. No? Alright, moving on. On the other side, one of the downfalls of being as responsible and authority-driven as he is, his personality can come off as being a little stale at times.
Who are you?
I'm Chris, of Alpha Team. I've come to rescue you.
Hey, maybe it's just the bad voice acting, but if you play future Resident Evil titles, like Resident Evil 5 and Resident Evil 6, the bare-bones personality seems to persist in the cliché, "I'm the serious guy to save the day" type. With that being said, he seems to have a soft spot for the ladies, and exhibits a chauvinistic personality at times.
Ladies first. Go first, Jill.
But Chris!
Give me a chance to play nice guy.
At the end of the day, I'd still buy him a beer. Chris's scenario is considered by a majority of the community to be the unofficial hard mode of the game. Chris has 6 inventory slots in which to hold weapons, ammo, healing items, and key items. If you've played this game before, then you'll know how fucking frustrating it is. Ugh! 6 is not enough! You'll be backtracking a lot in this game if it's your first time through. How are you supposed to know that after picking up the red herb, you need to get the lighter, shotgun ammo, and then maybe the ink ribbon if you're low? Now, it's not only time consuming, but if your playstyle is to run past all the enemies instead of wasting your ammo, you're going to have fun redoing the same dodges and run-bys, further risking your chances of getting hit. Damn! Oh, and can Barry save you from the falling ceiling of death after grabbing the shotgun? No! You need the broken shotgun no matter what, or you ain't getting it, Buster. To make matters worse, Chris has to carry additional keys that you won't see with Jill. Chris must carry small keys on him just to unlock those pesky desks that usually hold shotgun shells and ink ribbons. Luckily, those keys stack in one inventory slot. The other key needed is the sword key, which is a mandatory key item needed to unlock some of the rooms in the mansion furthering your progress. Jill simply needs to use her lockpick, that doesn't take up a slot I might add, on the doors that Chris needs to use the sword key on, and the locked desks he needs small keys for. Fuck! And Chris never gets the bazooka. You know what he gets? This piece of shit flamethrower that's good for only one thing: to torch this stupid web after beating that stupid oversized spider, just in case you don't have an extra inventory slot for the combat knife in the corner. Oh, and it unlocks these doors by placing them on the plaque that Jill could just stroll on through. Ladies first, Jill. Ah, phew. Jill Valentine is the original female protagonist to the Resident Evil series, and is an interesting character to say the least, with a twist to her backstory. Not only is Jill the master of unlocking and highly respected by comrades Barry Burton and Chris Redfield,
Jill, here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
but she is also a former operative of the U.S. Army Secretive Special Unit known as the Delta Force Training Program. During those days, Jill was considered well adept at fighting and became proficient with bomb disposal, as she was deemed an explosive expert. This is what probably led to her use of the bazooka over Chris as a weapon in her playthrough. After completion of the Delta Force training program, Jill later joined STAR's Alpha team. And don't think that I forgot, Jill has a backstory, with a twist. Her father, Dick Valentine, was considered a master thief and trained Jill throughout her life to be an expert, professional criminal such as himself. Unfortunately, Dick was caught and sentenced to a long-term prison stay, and had a change of heart with Jill's appointed direction in life. He made sure that she would use her cat burglar-esque skills for good, ultimately leading her to join STARS. At first, Jill resisted the idea of giving up the bad life, and it had to take Dick admitting that it was a mistake to raise her that way before she had a change of heart. Hence, Jill became the Master of Unlocking on the STARS Alpha team. You know, if Chris is considered hard mode, that must mean Jill is easy street, right? Right. If you're a beginner to the series, you will want to use Jill as she has 8 inventory slots instead of Chris's 6. A lockpick that requires no inventory space that is used in place of Chris's sword and small keys, a bazooka with grenade, flame, and acid rounds, and you can get the shotgun without needing the broken one to replace it. I know I talked about this in Chris's section, so I won't go on too much more about this. Just know that it makes a huge difference in difficulty who you play as. Now, to be fair, I do personally prefer Jill's scenario over Chris's. Not because it's easier, and trust me, I do enjoy a challenge. I've been playing the Demon's Souls series since it first came out back in 2009. I genuinely like using the bazooka against those fucking zombies. I also prefer the story better. I find it much more interesting doing Jill's over Chris's. And last but not least, I get to hang out with one of the most beloved characters, if not the most beloved character, of Resident Evil, the warm and fuzzy berry. Well guys, that's it for part 1 of my homage to the original Resident Evil, a part of my 20th anniversary celebration for the series. You know, it's amazing to think how long it's been since this game first crept into people's homes. It has had a heavy influence on my taste for horror, and I wouldn't love or appreciate video games as much as I do today if it wasn't for its creation. Part 2 is in the works, where I'll wrap up the story and cast by going over well-known and important characters including Barry Burton, Albert Wesker, and Rebecca Chambers. Beyond that, I plan on addressing the BOWs, also known as the enemies of the series, by observing and talking about their roles in the game and how they contribute to the overall experience. And finally, I want to thank all of you for checking out our videos on the baddest dudes. I truly appreciate it. I had a lot of fun making this video, and if you liked what you saw, please give it a like so that way I know to make more videos like it. If you have something to say, don't forget to leave a comment below, and please subscribe to the baddest dudes to stay up to date with our new and fresh videos. Sjotyme, check it out!